What's up, everybody? It's Aslan Hudjavandi and Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminoles sports source. Michael's been hard at work over at Moore. He's got plenty of nuggets. He's going to give them all to you for free. All we ask is that maybe subscribe to our YouTube channel. That, too, is totally free, as is hitting the thumbs up button. But you get plenty more for only $29.99 from now all the way up until September 1st over at Warchant.com. There's like a dozen dudes and everything you need to know about these guys on a junior day from Michael, but we're going to focus on three guys. Let's get to it, Michael. First off, thanks for being here, man. We appreciate it. Charles Lester is a guy that you've been talking about for quite some time on recruiting chats. I know some folks are still focused on the portal, but this was a junior day. We're kind of looking ahead to 2024's recruiting class. How important is Charles Lester to those plans, and what do you think he walked away from in Tallahassee on Saturday?
Yeah, I think this is the Hakeem Williams of the 2024 class for them. A guy they invested a lot of interest in. Loves FSU growing up. Certainly getting him back on campus was a big deal. You probably prefer it with Patrick Surtain there, but obviously Patrick's got some things he got to figure out with the Dolphins against the Bills on Sunday. But I think overall it was about as perfect as you could ask for. Charles Lester called the hire of Surtain perfect fit. He thinks that was a perfect fit, although he did admit, like, hey, I don't know a ton about him except for what his son has done. But he's definitely excited about getting to know him. He told me the Woodson leaving didn't really impact him at all, as far as how he feels at FSU and what they're doing. You could tell he's really excited about kind of the season they've done as far as where it's going and getting this to a championship level. And just really said, it's like he told me point blank, he's like, Michael, I don't have a leader, but if I did have a leader, it would be FSU. So you could tell FSU is where the heart is and where probably the business sense is, basically what he's seen so far on the field. I think really the next key is just seeing how he connects with Surtain going forward. But I think overall, I think FSU nailed it. He really likes Coach Norvell a lot. Mentioned some of the things that Hakeem told me based in early in the process, where he said, he really fights for his players. I love the passion he brings. I love that he does everything that it's going to impact his players and put him in a great position. Everything he does. So say he's the most intense and coach that he deals with as far as a head coach. He's the most real guy that he's been around. So certainly a lot of positives of coming out of the visit. He is going to take all his 5 official visits, so didn't seem like he was going to do a decision until around 9 months or so, probably till maybe next December or something. But I think overall, I think you couldn't ask some better comments about what Charles had to say about FSU.
Look at that. Yeah. Alabama, some of the other in-state schools in play for Charles Lester. Florida State obviously making a really good impression here on this junior day, if you will. Trench is always an important part of the puzzle when it comes to putting together a recruiting class with prep players. They got a guy from Central Florida that made it onto campus, a big guy out of Orlando. What did you think about some of the things you heard about afterwards, speaking to Dontre Robinson, Michael?
Yeah, I think the last class we saw them land a guy that was really talented in KJ Sampson. I think they kind of viewed this guy, similar mold of really being a big playmaker on the front four. I think certainly FSU made a big splash with him throughout the weekend. The one thing he pointed out is like, that's different from FSU is like when you go to FSU, you go to other schools, it's kind of like they break down all the things that you're good at. He said FSU breaks down all the things you're bad at, so he likes that the honesty and directness of the coaches. Obviously, like most kids, he loves what Odell does with development. Highlighted a lot about what he saw from FSU in those trenches, how impressive they were. I mean, I'm just getting used to this, guys. So let me settle in. But I'm just getting used to kids talking about FSU being a top 5 program. I heard that so many times today. DeAndre was one of them, just consistently mentioning like, hey, they're one of the premier programs in the country. I love what their development does. I really feel comfortable, but I think what really hit home was that part where they break you down, both the bad and mostly the bad things. They're not afraid to tell you, hey, you're not good at this. This is something that we want to fine tune and get better. And they're always looking for ways to make the prospects better, not just what they're showing on the field. So there was stuff discussed of what he does good, but a lot of what they broke down when they did individual personal time, which DeAndre said he really likes how it isn't just like one speech and one coach does speak. I mean, they break you into personal time with Odell Higgins in his case. I think he really that really seemed to resonate and connect with DeAndre, and certainly I think they're one of the, without question, the top teams in his recruitment. I don't think there's a set on set leader, but there's no question that FSU has some momentum with DeAndre after this visit again. Told me he's going to come back in March. He can't wait to get back over there, but so obviously the season, there's some buildup off that season of where this thing's going with FSU, and that's certainly helped them with a lot of recruits, especially a guy like DeAndre.
You said DeAndre likes being coached hard. There's probably no one that coaches anybody harder on the staff than Alex Atkins. Any offensive lineman kind of stand out to you in terms of being a big sort of get for Florida State getting on campus for this junior day, Michael?
Yeah, I had a really talented one. Their number one, I think, offensive tackle target, which is I'm drawing a blank. Jonathan Daniels out of Pine Forest. He's a guy that a lot of top schools are on. Georgia's on him. Florida State is clearly on him. He's visited Florida State multiple times. He told me, but he said something interesting because I was feeling like, okay, Georgia's a two-time defending national champions. You got to think that they have the edge, right? But he said no. FSU stands out the most to him. He really, I think, the connection with Atkins is inevitable. When you talk to him about him, he's just like he really likes being around him. He said that he's coming back on March 11th, which I think they're probably going to have some kind of event that they have for guys over there. He said I might even come over earlier than that because I want to be around. He's like, Mike, I really love being around Atkins and Norvell. Just the stuff they do is infectious, and he loves being around it. Now, this isn't the first time we've heard this about kids talking about Atkins the way they do, and but he said that he will purposely get his players to talk with the recruits when they're on the visits, because he wants them to tell them, hey, tell them how I am. Tell them I don't want you to tell them the good things. I want you to tell them the bad things that maybe you don't like. And so that was a different thing that really resonated with Jonathan, that he isn't afraid to let his players showcase what he does, what he is, and what he expects from his players. And so there's a high expectation of standard of what Atkins expects out of his offensive lineman, and that certainly, without question, brought a big smile and laughs and stuff that Jonathan really liked, and it's very clear that certainly FSU is standing out to him, both on the field. He talked about that, noticing what they do, the development of their offensive linemen, how much better they are if you look at the 2 year span as far as what they've done, and two, just what Atkins is as a coach, as a developer, as a man, and also as a mentor type, of how he's going to make sure you do all the right things on and off the field. And I think that really massively connected with a guy like Daniels.
There's like a dozen dudes on a roll call with updates over at warchant.com. Michael's been working for y'all. He'll be working for y'all tomorrow on Sunday as well. Anybody new going to arrive on campus, or is it mostly continuation, or was everything just on Saturday pretty much, Michael?
I think pretty much Saturday was it. I didn't hear anything else about another visitor. There could be one. I'm going to check tonight just to make sure there's nobody Sunday. If I have to swing by there again, I'll do it. I'll also have a recruiting wrap later tonight. I've got a full story on Charles Lesser I'm going to work on the moment I get off here with Aslan. And then also we're going to have a notebook in the morning where I cover tons of kids that, like I said, the main thing I've heard is like mentioning FSU as a top program is something I'm getting used to. And I think a lot of these kids now are seeing the relationships match up with the product on the field. And they certainly made a big splash. I think there's like 3 or 4 kids that told me today, including a 2025 quarterback, Tramel Jones out of Mandarin, that he has FSU as his leader. There's 4 or 5 kids that named his leader. So something to look forward to, a lot of excitement, and certainly they're building off that Big Ten win season, that it's certainly catching the attention of these recruits. And keep in mind, they have back-to-back junior days coming up the next 2 weekends. So there's going to be more guys coming on campus. So I think FSU wants to capitalize on that momentum, and certainly, they're doing that with these 3 junior days in a row.
Thankfully, it was just junior day,
Yeah.
not days this weekend. So
Yeah.
Michael's got it all out of the way. Y'all hit the thumbs up for our guy over here. I mean, he didn't even ask for it, but I'm going to ask for it for him. Michael, thank you as always, man.
You got it, bud.